everyone, and welcome back to Spooky Celluloid. Now I know this looks like my second channel, Spooky or Celluloid, and the reason for that is that your boy works retail, and this week was Christmas week, obviously, so it was hell. So I decided to take it easy and talk to you guys about my favorite movies that I've seen this year, either from this year or from other years, because this year was my first time that I logged every movie I watched, and I am proud to say that I've seen over 400 movies this year, which I think is a record breaker. I've just been really enjoying watching movies, and I just wanted to discuss the year 2023 as a whole. Now, as I am posting this, I hope you all had a Merry Christmas to whoever celebrated, and I hope you had fun with friends or family, and if you are in a situation where you can't really do that, I hope that you still had a good, nice, long weekend. Before I get going, I just wanted to shout out user bad at karate on Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. It's been on my channel, kind of hidden for ever since I started back in like 2021. You are not obligated to support, but if you have extra money and if you don't, totally understandable, it is the holidays. I just want to let you know that you can support me. My first post on there has been my now deleted Lady Terminator review. Go on to patreon.com/spookycelluloid. I'll put the link in the description box below. And yeah, thank you Bad at Karate for being the first official Spooky Celluloid supporter. And this might be a long video, so grab yourself a beer. I think tonight I'm gonna take it easy and only drink one. And oh, this is my first time actually drinking a beer like this. Ooh! And it's more like a bottle of champagne. I wasn't expecting this. As I've said, I've watched over 400 movies at this point, and the year is not even over. However, I'm not somebody who watches a lot of newer films. Most of the newer films that I watch are very indie stuff, and for that, this year was amazing. I think this was one of the most solid years we've had in a while. I am kind of tired, as you guys probably know, of the whole fetish horror subgenre of underground cinema, and that was kind of in the past 2 years, that was really big. However, I saw a shift this year towards movies that were kind of more fun, kind of bringing back the SOV vibe without being SOV, other than of course A Corpse for Christmas, which is, spoiler alert, one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year, but just that fun vibe of a group of friends who are just horror fans or, you know, underground cinema fans getting together and just having fun and creating good art. Obviously, one of my favorites, because I've covered most of these, was of course the Black Heart Collectors Club from Steven Grischuk. Now, I've made an entire video about this film, and I think you should watch it, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It was short, it was fast-paced, the story was very ambitious, especially for the budget, and I always support Steven, because not only are his films entertaining, he's also a pretty good guy. After that, another one that I have to shout is, of course, Hillbilly Holocaust. That was my first experience with that studio and that filmmaker's work, and I absolutely adored it. It is a throwback to 1980s, well, more like late 1990s German splatter SOV films. Think of your Olaf Ittenbachs and your Andreas Schnaas with films like Violent Shit and, of course, Olaf Ittenbach, The Burning Moon, a bunch of movies like that. It's about a group of hillbillies who not accidentally, they live on one of the gates of hell, and zombies come out of there, and to make it stop, they have to, I think, if I remember correctly, kill about 666 people. So the film is just following these hillbillies who just slaughter innocent people. It is quite entertaining, the gore is incredible, and honestly, it's also fast-paced, and that's what I liked about this year, is that all the indie underground films were really fast-paced, which made them a lot more easy a lot easier to take in. Another one of my favorite indie hits this year was A Corpse for Christmas, which I reviewed last week, and that is always a high recommendation on my part. It was just a really fucking awesome movie. Other than that, which ones I've covered, I'm not very sure. That's sort of the super indie stuff. But this summer, as I have been doing for a couple of summers, I was to the Fantasia Film Festival, which I've did a couple of shorts on the Fantasia Film Festival before, and I haven't really made a video talking about my opinion in a more complex, but more long form way. And I have to say it right now, my favorite of the movies that I've seen that I saw at the Fantasia Film Festival was probably Booger. Now, Booger is an indie film, which really kind of low budget. It's directed by Mary Dodderman, and it's it was premiering for the Canadian, not the international premiere, at the Fantasia Film Festival, and it is the story about a woman who lives with this other woman who recently has passed away in New York, and that woman had a cat named Booger. Now, Booger is absolutely adorable. Honestly, this is one of the best films for all of the people like me who have feline friends. Sometimes it can be hard, because the plot device is that she loses the cat, and that's kind of tough as a cat owner to think about. And then this losing of the cat is the catalyst to her basically having a mental breakdown, and the film quickly becomes this symbolic representation of loss as our main character turns into a cat. It's quite brilliantly made. I really enjoyed it. It is very original, very interesting. It is a blend of body horror and drama that is honestly very well executed. It was probably, and it's super short too, and honestly it was probably my favorite of like the mid-tier, festival run kind of movies. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. The acting is very well done. The cinematography and music is outstanding. There is a lot of play with the colors. So there is a lot of color play similar to, Italian giallis, so it is very beautiful to look at. It sounds good, the acting is great, the premise is very original, as I've said. For me it was probably my biggest takeaway from Fantasia as a whole this year. I wasn't very impressed with the rest of the movies I saw at Fantasia. There was a decent one named What You Wish For, but then again, it was decent. It was this take on cannibal films, not the jungle kind, but this kind of thriller where a chef finds himself in an island where he meets a friend of his, and then something happens. The friend of his, who was supposed to be a chef for this very special dinner, dies, and then the guy who showed up is pretending to be his friend. So it's this kind of very typical kind of thriller. The take is, of course, the dinner service is human meat, and he has to find the victims and then cook the 3-course or 4 courses meal with the people. It's decent. It is an interesting concept. The execution is fairly well done. There is an actress in there that I liked in a movie that I didn't like that I watched this year with Nicolas Cage, but that's nothing to do with that. The main actor is quite strong. It is directed by Nicholas Tomney. I'm pretty sure it's Australian, and yeah, it's decent. It's nothing mind-blowing. The twists and turns are kind of predictable. I wasn't upset that I watched it, and that was the thing about Fantasia, is that I didn't hate any movies that I saw over there, but I didn't fall in love with any of them. Satan Wants You was a very interesting documentary about the satanic panic. And it is very dramatic in its presentation, but overall it's very good. And oh yeah, I saw Return to Street Fighter which is the sequel to the Sony Chiba movie, and that was probably the best movie I saw at Fantasia. That was, I mean, that doesn't really count as it wasn't a new film, it was just a presentation, because one of the actors was Quebecois, which was funny to think about from a 70s karate movies from Japan. Return to Street Fighter was probably my favorite movie. It is so over the top. It is this very, very over the top action film. There is a scene where somebody gets their eyes punched out of them. Magnificent. It is truly a gem of Japanese cinema, and I kind of wish I owned the Street Fighter franchise on Blu-ray, which I might be buying pretty soon. Now, I know everybody always likes to hear what the worst of something is. And don't worry, people, because I did watch a lot of stinkers this year. This was also probably the year with the most stinkers. I blame Urshel for that because we started a podcast, but we've only covered Alien Beast and Ant Farm Dickhole, which are two of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I both saw those this year. However, for a 2023 release, what was the worst one? Fucking Grandma, man. So, as you guys probably know, I went to see the Sick on Cinema Boys and Urshel in real life at a convention in Tennessee, and they had showings, and Grandma looked kind of interesting. It is this throwback to SOV films, but well, not really good, not a good execution, and the cast is insane. You look at it, you got a lot of 80s Scream Queen, a lot of names from the classic era of SOV are kind of attached to the project, but the director is Dustin Ferguson and Bobby Knippy Jr., which, man, I don't want to be mean, but Dustin Ferguson, he's also the director of another of the worst movie I've seen this year, but that's for later on in the video. Man, Grandma is rough. It is an attempt at 80s SOV with all the issues that plagued a lot of 80s SOV driving fucking sequences that go on forever. It's not good, it's not well executed. It's kind of sad because, you know, the executive producers are Donald Farmer, Tim Ritter, Gary P. Cohen, legends of the SOV movement. This is easily one of the worst things I've seen. I walked out. I walked out, had like a smoke, took a shit, you know. I'm probably gonna miss most of the movie, but oh well, it fucking sucks. And then I came back in, and it was still people driving, man. Still, the funnest part of watching Grandma was just me memeing with the boys, which some great memes came out of that, let me tell you. But yeah, the cast, Michelle Bauer, Brink Stevens, like legends. This had everything going for it. And it disappointed. It sucked. And my favorite review from John from the Sick on Cinema podcast, he reviewed this as soon as we came out of the screening. His review was fuck, which is the exact reaction you should have after watching Grandma. But there was another film I watched this year that I absolutely hated, and that was Murder Size. Oh my god, I do despise this movement in indie horror, and I hate shitting on indie horror, but man, what the fuck was that? At least Grandma's budget was probably like $5,000. This had a budget of, I think, don't quote me on that, either 25 or 50 grand US. This was kickstarted. Murder Size. It is a throwback of what people think 80s movies were like. It is this blend of Killer Workout, Death Spa, movies like that, but done fucking terribly. Man, I hate this movie. And it couldn't even be saved. It could not even be saved by one of my favorite actors in the indie kind of casting thingy, Kansas Bowling. I adore her. She's good in Psycho Ape. She's great in Psycho Ape. She was good in this. but she wasn't good enough to save this movie. She's of course in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Sadly, she's also in Christmas Bloody Christmas, which is fucking horrible, and she's of course a director of BC Butcher and pretty soon Cuddly Toys, which is probably one of the movies I'm most excited to watch for next year. I think it's coming out next year, don't quote me on that, but yeah man, that Murder Size sucked. Jessa Flux, who I like her, she's in some Donald Farmer movies that I like. I'm sorry, John, I'm gonna keep talking about Donald Farmer. She's in the Cannibal Hookers remake, which is a movie I saw this year and I talked about and I liked. I like her as an actress. She's so fucking annoying in this. She just yells about her tits for 5 minutes, and that's supposed to make me laugh? No, the dialogue is cringy. This movie sucks. It looks like shit. It sounds like shit. It fucking is shit. Man, this was... Like, I know we meme about Grandma being the worst movie that I've seen this year. No, I think this was close. Ginger Lynn is a lovely woman. I didn't need to see her geriatric tits on screen. Fucking hated this movie. God damn. It's directed by Paul Ragsdale and Angelica de Alba, which they also directed another 80s throwback with Streets of Vengeance, which I will never watch. Fuck this movie. Murder Size was such a disappointment. And the worst part, the thing honestly that makes me furious about these types of movies is that you could give that $50,000 to the Hillbilly Holocaust guys, to the Bloodsick Psychosis guys, to Brian Paulin, to actual, like, yeah, Steven Grischuk, like, all those guys, John Doe, anybody from the super indie low budget scene, you could give them $50,000 and they'd put out an amazing movie. Shit, if you give $50,000 to Brian Paulin, it might be the best movie ever made, for God's sakes. But no. We have to have 80s throwback with shitty, uninspiring synth score, with shitty overacting, with shitty fucking... Ah, man. Murder Size is horrendous. I hate that movie. Fuck that movie. As per usual, I don't watch a lot of theatrical films. I haven't even seen Thanksgiving yet. Not Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Also Thanksgiving on the subject. Also one of the worst movies I've seen this year, but I'll go back to some positivity, because after that rant, I need some positivity. Theatrical movies. I don't see a lot of them. I just don't. Sympathy for the Devil, because this year I started my Nicolas Cage extravaganza with my brother, and the first movie we pulled, since this was in October during my horror challenge, is Sympathy for the Devil, which also played at Fantasia, because my friend Paul from Grindhouse Funhouse saw that one at Fantasia. And honestly, really good. It is this kind of thriller with some supernatural aspect, you think, but it is honestly very good. Very surprising. Nicolas Cage has a few cageism, but he's not too over the top, because when he's over the top, he's only good if the rest of the movie isn't strong. But if he's a bit over the top and just generally good in a movie, usually when the movie is better, I prefer that. I don't want him to be over the top in like a actual good movie. Could you imagine if he was super over the top in like Leaving Las... He is. But not too much, just enough. Like Leaving Las Vegas is one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances, and like he has moments that are over the top. Some of them even became early Facebook memes, but I mean, as a whole, he's not super over the top. So those are my personal favorite Nicolas Cage performances. But yeah, Sympathy for the Devil, kind of in that way. Very subdued, not very cagey, until he gets very cagey. He kind of plays a supernatural entity. I won't spoil it too much, but it's really good. Honestly, give it a watch. If I had seen it at Fantasia, it would have been right up there with Booger. But Booger's got my heart. My favorite movie of the year, you probably could have guessed. I mean, Theatrical. John Wick 4. I am a sucker for a John Wick movie, and 4 was not my favorite, but man, that overhead action scene of like a marvel of the cinematic arts. I don't know how they pulled that off, but man, that was impressive. So yeah, honestly, the action is great. Keanu Reeves, not an actor I particularly like, But in this, he's very subdued. He has like 2 lines of dialogue, which is good. That's all he needs. Action is amazing. I fucking adore the John Wick series. I wish it would just go on forever. I saw Saw 10. I was higher on it than thinking back. I think it's very middle of the road for a Saw movie. Maybe I would have liked it better in a crowd. I watched it at home, but man, there's just... I like Saw, that one. Meh, alright. I think the final like 15 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, that's some good shit. But the like first like almost 2 hours, because this film was too fucking long, I was kind of, yeah, okay, we get backstory. And also, this is supposed to be like between the second and the third, I think, or the third and the fourth. And Tobin Bell is old, guys. Tobin Bell is old, and he looks old. And Amanda, which is, I'm sorry, Saw fans, probably one of my least favorite characters in the Saw franchise, is prominent in this one. And she also doesn't look old, but like you can see she's older than she's supposed to be, and she has a stupid ass wig. I don't know how that wig kept up throughout the entirety of the shoot, but props to the wig department. You guys did a great job. The 2 movies I've seen the most. It's so funny to say that, and I swear I'm not being edgy. There's just something about this film that makes it a comfort for movie for me, and that is Dr. Lamb, which I've covered, and I wasn't high on in my review. I just really liked it. I liked it alright. I rewatched it twice in a week, and then I recently, after watching Ant Farm Dickle, rewatched it. And I covered it pretty much on the podcast because we didn't want to talk about Ant Farm Dickhole. And there's just something about that movie. I know it's a fucked up movie. It is. When you think about the concept, the content, it is messed up. But there is just, I think I just adore Cat 3 Hong Kong movies. And that one just spews Cat 3 Hong Kong dirty ass movie. I just love these very sleazy exploitation films, and I feel like Hong Kong Cat 3s from the early 90s were like peak exploitation. Like the 70s was peak exploitation in the rest of the world, but for 90s, Hong Kong was peak exploitation cinema in the entire world. I fucking adore Dr. Lamb. And the other film I watched like 4 or 5 times, 4 times I think this year, motherfucking Bloody Moon by Jess Franco. Not even my favorite Jess Franco movie. Far from it. There are glaring issues with that movie. One of them being pacing. I just love it. There is something comforting about it. I know Begotten is kind of a divisive film. A lot of people think it's just boring ass art trash. And yeah, that might be what it is. I still fucking loved it. And of course, I discovered one of my new favorite directors this year, and I'm gonna look him up before I fuck up his name, who of course directed Tokyo Fist, which was another movie I discovered this year, and that is of course Shinya I feel like the Sekansen boy, Tsukamoto. Man, Tokyo Fist is a fucking masterpiece, and I am surprised I haven't watched it more this year. I discovered it this year, and it is phenomenal. It's not even now one of my favorite. It's like in my favorite movies of all time list. Like, the film is an incredible movie. It is very Japanese in execution, but don't let that fool you. It is a fucking masterpiece of chaos. It is energetic. It is violent. It is beautiful. It's just a great film. And of course, somebody I've talked about before, because when I reviewed Blind Beast, and next year I plan on reviewing Irezumi, but I did watch Red Angel from Yasuzo Masumura, one of my favorite directors of all time now. I just adore everything he touches is fucking gold. I love it. My favorite Franco film that I've seen for the first time this year, A Virgin Among the Living Dead. Now, I am working on my Franco video. I know I've been saying that for 2 years, and this time it's true. A Virgin Among the Living Dead is a very moody, atmospheric, beautiful work of visual arts film, and it's just incredible. And it proves that, once again, Jess Franco wasn't just a hack, but an actual talented filmmaker. And yeah, it is a lot of walking, it is very slow, but it is moody and atmospheric, so it shouldn't surprise anybody. But yeah, I feel like I'm going on a bit too long, but A Snake of June, again by Shinya Toshimoto, as the Sagan Cinema boys would say. I think due to my personal preferences towards films that explore human sexuality, A Snake of June is very close to Tokyo Fist, but I think that you can't beat Tokyo Fist. I think that's the director's best work. However, A Snake of June is very close, and of course I have personal biases because I adore films that explore human sexuality, especially films that explore human sexuality in Japan. So yeah, great film, highly recommended. Female Vampire, another wonderful Jess Franco film that you've seen, might also almost be my favorite. Cat 3 movies, I was talking about them. Brother of Darkness, that movie is fucking grim, but not as grim as Daughter of Darkness, which is another one I watched this year, and that one is a masterpiece, but it is so fucking grim, and it starts out as a goofball, slapsticky comedy. Why? Japan, why Hong Kong? Just go to my letterbox and you'll see whatever I really enjoyed this year. But yeah, this video has been going on for way too long already. I would just want to thank everybody. YouTube did this kind of like wrapped for my channel, and this year has been insane. It's just been insane growth, insane support from the community, and let's make 2024 even better. As I've said, I've now officially started a Patreon. You are not obligated to subscribe to that. I honestly would be surprised that anybody would do so. But if you want to see more of my stuff, go take a look on that, and I'll try to be very active on there. And yeah, thank you, and continue your support towards smaller YouTube channels, and let's make 2024 even better. Cheers, people, and see you guys next year.